Hi, I'm Ross Tayler. Welcome to Sacred Sundays, a space to slow down, tune in, and return to what's sacred within and around you. Some weeks you'll hear a sound-based offering to open the space. Other times we'll simply begin in conversation. However it unfolds, this is an invitation into presence, connection, and the beauty of the unseen. So pour a cup of tea, settle in, and let's begin. Today on Sacred Sundays, I'm joined by Aldous Littlebird, also known as the Nicotine Nun. Aldis is from St. John, New Brunswick, is a self-ordained embodiment of peace, a creator, a philosopher, and a former street outreach worker. She's a seeker of truth, transforming her recovery from the depths of depression into a journey of humor, heart, and humility. Welcome, Aldis.
Hi, Ross.
So happy to have you here.
Nice to be here.
I just want to let our listeners know that this conversation is going to be a little bit unusual in the sense that Aldis and I have had a past working relationship. And so I just wanted to disclose that in the beginning, because really what I've witnessed in working with Aldis is her determination, her commitment, and the things that she's done to get to where she is really the most beautiful, powerful thing that I've witnessed. And I really think that the story that Aldis has to share would be beneficial to people that are having those same struggles. So that's the reason for our conversation, and really excited to highlight that today. Is there anything you want to say to that or add to that?
No, wow. Thanks, Ross. It's quite a compliment. It's been quite a journey, and it speaks to my determination, because I think since I met you, I've had a goal, and I'm reaping the benefits of that goal now. I feel that it's time to share this story with other people. Maybe someone will benefit from that.
Awesome. The first question I wanted to start with was Nicotine Nun. I wonder if you could say something about that. I mean, I know a little bit about the backstory of that, but if you could bring some words to Nicotine Nun and what it represents for you.
Nicotine Nun. So it actually started as an Instagram handle because in my own art, I like religious imagery. The symbolism is very powerful to me, and it gets across well in paintings. But then I started to come across all these pictures of nuns having fun, and people were sending me pictures of nuns smoking, and I love the paradox. It's a humorous way to look at religion, and I really believe that we have to take spirituality and religion in those humorous ways, because I believe humor is the language of love. I took it a little bit farther and ordained myself the Nicotine Nun, because I want to embody those things that nuns do. Like, I want to be truthful to the vows that I've made myself, and my, pardon the word, my God, my universe, my spirit. I take it that seriously, and in that way no one can say I'm not a nun. But I want that element of humor to come across, to bring the humanity to it. And I've found in my outreach work, that's really the only way to reach people. You don't walk around all pious and expect to help people because they feel less than you.
I love the image of the nun with a cigarette in her mouth, which I think that there's something about that specifically that you bring as well, in terms of the humor you mentioned and the humanity. It's because it is about being human, isn't it?
It is. There's this lovely, I'm being reminded me of a lovely lyric that it's by Tool, and it's just a small bit of one long song, but it's been going through my head. It's to witness divinity and still be a human, which, Ross, you taught me all these years, that we're still here to be human. And that the nuns sneaking a cigarette, like, I just always, I love that. I am that person. I'm the rascal, but like, ultimately my heart is good and pure.
What I love about what you just said is is the depression, the anxiety, those things can't coexist with the energy you just brought, that laughter.
No, no, they can't. And what I'm coming to realize is that anywhere there's light,
Mm.
that darkness can't exist.
Yeah.
And I'm more and more, my entire life is light. So I love that you brought that up.
And could you say more about, like, my belief is that your relationship to religion, if you want to call it that, is more from a metaphysical perspective. And you've also walked a Buddhist path. Maybe you can say a little bit about how that has helped or informed your journey.
Uh, yeah, I can talk about that a little. I don't know that I don't really want to label it anything. I know there was
Mhm.
a Buddhist path for a while. I also went to church for a while. But what happened was what I now refer to as my birthday was April 23rd, 2016. And if you were looking at me, you'd know that wasn't my birthday. But that day, I awoke into something. And previous to that was an atheist, staunch atheist. Later, I would read The Power of Now, which I had read before, but I didn't correlate the two. It was very similar experience to what Eckhart Tolle had, and lasted months. And it was this extreme peace, and all I could see was beauty. Like, it had to be that big to understand that it was a goal worth setting to come back to. So I began to see the silver thread in religions, that the core message, the very beautiful message, was all the same. And we really got thirsty for that. And so, like, I started visiting churches and talking to people and reading every book I could. Did end up studying with the nuns and monks, the Buddhist nuns and monks in PEI, which taught me so much, such wonderful people. But that ultimately led to me finding the Buddha in the road, as we say, and killing him because I was over conceptualizing.
Mm.
Your original question was about my spirituality. I wouldn't say it's necessarily metaphysical. I wouldn't say it's Christian. I wouldn't say it's Buddhist. I wouldn't say it's Zen. It's really nothing. It's
Mm.
nothing. It's just what I know to be completely true in my heart, and being guided by that and the vows that I set for myself, being a nicotine nun and following peaceful path that's made me close with what some people call God.
I think the key that I heard in that is that the orientation of your beliefs is inward versus studying something outward, even though there's a reflection of both. But really, it's about following your heart, your inner guidance, your inner compass, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, well, all this reading and research and studying that I did, it helped me to understand the key messages of Christ, of Siddhartha,
Mm.
um, and the and how simple and beautiful they are, and in their simplicity. So I did a whole lot of reading to find out it was very simple. Those things are guidelines to how I want to be and how I want to live and how I love myself.
Sure. And if we shift over to your journey with your mental wellness,
Hmm.
what would you want to say about that? What do you want to share about that journey? And keeping in mind that others are going to hear this that might benefit from your perspective.
Um, I'm someone who was diagnosed that with depression, uh, clinical depression, very early at the age of 15. I'd been experiencing suicidal ideation since about 13. Um, and then I just fell into the deepest, darkest pit. I sometimes describe it as like a concrete room that had sort of like a one-way mirror that I could see out to people, but they couldn't see in. I couldn't get out. I was just in this darkness. And um, I'm happy to say that I don't experience those depths anymore, but diagnosis after diagnosis after diagnosis. And like one thing that I've come to find out is that I embodied those things, which brings me back, just if I can maybe side note, like I want to embody peace now. I don't want to
Mm.
embody anger and sadness. So, we are whatever we want to be. Um, I wouldn't say I ever wanted to be depressed or suicidal, but I didn't realize my own role in that. So, um, there was hospitalization and then and clinics, and then I became someone who was deemed over therapized, I think was the words. Like I could sit in a room with a clinician and know what they were going to say before they did. And it wasn't really until I met you, Ross, that things started to turn around. But like I have to say that I really, really knew what I wanted in
Mm-hmm.
someone reflecting my experience to me. And you came and you were wonderful.
Thank you. You mentioned embodying peace, and I just imagine that for anyone that is currently struggling with anxiety, depression, whatever else they might be struggling with, the notion of embodying peace may seem so far off in the distance. And I would imagine that you felt that, or wouldn't even have had that on your radar maybe at some points. So what would you say to someone about that journey towards peace?
I definitely didn't have it on my radar. That's why that birthday I mentioned in 2016 was so important, because it was a year after a suicide attempt and like I wasn't getting better. I had prayed to God I didn't even believe in to die. And
Mm,
actually what happened is I kind of did. But embodying peace to me before that day would have been something, if I was talking to myself, I would have said I was crazy. There's no way. And that's what I mean. Like it would, when there's no little bit of light, you can't see anything in the darkness. And so I had to be hit over the head with with light in order to get it.
and with light and life, I would imagine.
Light and life. Yes. For the first time I've seen the beauty in the world and not feeling like I can't wait to get out of here. And I was feeling, I remember at the time I was feeling an awful lot like I didn't belong here.
Mm,
Sometimes I still feel that way, but I think that's an ego based feeling. But if someone hears this and they're gonna think, oh, that kook. I'm so depressed I can't see the outside of it. She must not have been that depressed. I was depressed. I was
mm-hmm,
in such darkness.
mm-hmm,
And maybe this is me shining a little tiny light through a keyhole that
yeah.
sparks your imagination to move forward in your own journey. But that's what it is. It's the coolest journey. You get to overcome what I consider um, a terminal illness.
Mm.
And I've conquered that with my own brain, my own will, with people like you, Ross. And I'm so proud of myself. And that empowerment also drives the journey.
Mm-hmm. And I want to I want to ask, what would Nicotine Nun say after having said all of that? Like I'm imagining that she might have some quirky advice as well. That
No. You told me to keep the language. I am colorful language. I am a maritimer. What would Nicotine Nun say? Well, Nicotine Nun, Aldous Littlebird, is by nature a punk rocker. She's still an anarchist, but a peaceful one, a gentle one. I'm going to tell you what Nicotine actually said. I have friends that, and myself, that we were all fighting the good fight. We're fighting for a lot of really good causes, for a lot of terrible things that are happening right now. And what I found with myself and in the reflection I was getting from my friends is that this was bringing nothing but anger to us. And I was getting more and more angry. And what Nicotine Nun decided was that this anger is not a good weapon. It's not sustainable. It's going to kill me with my own physical health and my anxiety. I was getting sadder and sadder and angrier and angrier. But I felt that's what I had to do. Now, what I did was flip the script, and said, I'm not fighting with the same juice that they're fighting with. I'm not fighting sword to sword. I'm going to be the peace that I want to be, and that is going to be my weapon. And since I declared that, and it took some cojones to do that with my friends, to say, like, I'm not going to be at the protests anymore. I'm not going to be championing people who take literal shots at people. I don't think violence is right. I think the way to fight this is peace. I think that the only way we're going to fight this, if we don't, then we're just as bad as them. And to my absolute delight, my friends accepted that, which shows me that they are good friends, and they're fighting their fight and I'm fighting my fight. Both the same fight, we just have different weapons. Yeah, so that's what Nicotine Nun does. She's still a wild girl, but I'm just choosing a different weapon.
And I think what's most noticeable for me is the energy that comes behind Nicotine Nun in terms of how it impacts you and how you get lit up by that energy. And it's like it brings something alive in you that otherwise wasn't there. Like it's the complete opposite to depression. But it also honors this unique perspective that you have. I love the punk rocker piece. I mean, all of these things that we encounter, all of the struggles we have, depression, anxiety, all of the things that come after that, the chronic pieces, it's a byproduct of the relational struggles we've had. It's a byproduct of how we haven't felt like we belong, or how we don't feel like we can get love, or all of the things. And so for this character, because it does feel like a character, but it also feels like a very important part of you. So for this character to emerge and bring the energy that it does, it shifts all of that. It does flip the script. You're right.
Yeah,
And it's really rooted in love, is it not?
it's absolute love.
Uh-huh.
It's loving myself. It's saying that my values matter,
Mm-hmm.
that they are effective, and running around hitting each other with sticks is not going to solve anything. I just I want to feel peaceful in my own life, and I really am a believer that when you are peace, it's infectious, contagious.
Mm-hmm. I think about the moments when someone is really at their lowest and it's hard to figure out what to say, what to do. I know that having worked in the fields that I have, it's like those are the hardest moments of trying to support someone when every part of their being is not wanting support. And I think about caregivers, family. What would you say to everyone about those moments that are so hard for us to face? Like, what is it you need to hear? What is it you want to hear? Or what does Nicotine Nun have to say about that?
I was thinking about this in the woods today. I always think of Tyler Durden,
Mm.
Fight Club, saying, "You're not a unique and beautiful snowflake." That's the kind of energy I need. I like everyone's different. That may drive someone away, but in my depths of depression, we are unique and beautiful snowflakes. But what I'm trying to say, depression and your suicidality, or your personality disorder, whatever you have, it does not it's not making you special. What you do with that has the power to make you special. And, I was kind of thinking on my walk in the woods today that we have this urge to be special. And I think we, like, a child in the 90s, 80s and 90s was like, you're special, everybody get a ribbon, right? The word special in itself has an inherent implication of specialer. So, you know, we are each beautiful snowflake, but we are not specialer than other snowflakes. You know, I want people to understand that they're being given a really beautiful vantage point of the world and a different perspective that not everybody gets. But your wish to leave this world, your wish to be free of pain, that is not what makes you special. The things that you bring because you have this advantage, this perspective, those are the things that will make you special. And share them, carry them forward through your life, through living.
I just remembered something that you said at one point that I experienced as being quite profound. You made this declaration of, I don't want fill in the blank to be my God. I don't want depression to be my God. I don't want sadness to be my God. And maybe I've got that a little bit wrong, but you
No,
can
you got
clarify.
That's interesting. I am like, I don't remember saying that to you, but I'm reading Course in Miracles again, and I'm on something right to that point. When I have a bad thought, what has recently come to me is, and I don't want to label them good or bad thoughts. They're just thoughts. That's the thing. They're just farts in the wind. That's all they are. But when those things arise that are maybe ego based, what my heart tells me to do is judge if I would trade my peace for that apartment I'm worrying about, or the car payment, or whatever the situation is, or I don't have a boyfriend, or I'm not pretty enough. My inner voice says, would you trade your peace for a partner right now? And I always say no, because there's nothing worth trading this for. And then it says, why are you trading it now? So in other words, um, you could trade your peace later by buying a new truck and then having to fix it all the time, or you're trading it now just by worrying about it. Why would you trade it at all ever? So kind of, because it's parallel to what you're talking about. It's like, depression is not my God anymore.
Okay.
I'm not trading my peace for that. I've come too far. So we choose who our God is. We choose it every second of every day. We can choose nicotine. We can choose Facebook. We can choose depression. We can choose our mom and dads. We can choose anything at all. But the only one that will always, always respond to you is peace.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one worth worshiping.
There's something to, and then I'll come back to the second question. The first thing is, you mentioned about all of us being special or specialer. And that's an interesting thing, because in human design, it really reveals that we are here to be living our unique map, if you will, living the schematic of who we are. And it's not at all about being special. It's about honoring those gifts that we have and sharing those gifts with the world. And so that's why I wanted to say this first, is because, yeah, there's a way that we can let the ego get involved with that and paint a picture that isn't actually the real picture that we're trying to get back to, which leads me to the next question, which is the voice that you've accessed, that connection to your higher self. You've removed all the noise, all the distortion that's been covering up that voice, probably for most of your life, if not the majority of your life.
Yeah, I would say the voice has been there. I just couldn't decipher it from all the other voices too, because each thing that I wanted or thought that I wanted has its own voice.
Mm-hmm.
And just to go back for a second, I was thinking today about your comment about being special. You can't make a car all out of steering wheels. Just like we all need to be a part of what's going on. We all have different gifts and different beauties. So, I mean, we are all equally special. I didn't mean to say that people aren't special. I don't like the separation that comes with deciding that someone's specialer uh, because they can do this and I can't do that, and blah blah blah. Anyways, back to the voice. Yes, there's a very clear voice that I hear now that guides me, and I've found that all I have to do is follow the instructions because I stuck so adamantly to the vows I made personally to be nicotine nun, to be peace, um, that whatever I vowed that to, which is myself and and everyone else on this planet, because ultimately we're all part of it. Um, whatever I vowed that to heard me and responded. Then finally, you're listening. And there have been moments of anxiety, and I just say that's I'm not trading my peace for that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of see things in religion sort of get distorted. I heard in an earlier podcast something that I've always thought that heaven and hell are here on this earth, and we decide. So that's deciding who our God is. Again, thinking about in my walk in the woods, this is where I hear this voice is that I was thinking about how my art career began, and it was with an exploration of the seven sins, and which is an interesting exploration for an atheist. So, but it was sort of a foretelling of what was to come for me, and I didn't realize at the time that it was incredibly wise. I did this as a 23-year-old. It was about how we sin upon ourselves. And when I say sin, I mean it's not as in you're going to hell. That's why I got onto the heaven and hell thing. But things that keep you from achieving the peace that you want, they're just things that get in the way. This voice that I hear now clears all of that noise out of the way. And I think what I hear in religions speaking about the devil or hell, and they're actually talking about the ego and the states that we put ourselves in. I wouldn't be the first person to say that, I don't think.
I love that. And it really does answer the question of that voice that got revealed and the way in which you connected with it. It's an interesting byproduct of the journey to like connect with something that you might have known was there or someone might know it was there, but then to really have that voice come through so powerfully.
Yeah. And I'm reminded of just how many Aldises there were. There was Aldis the painter, there was Aldis the depressed person, there was Aldis the harm reduction advocate, there was Aldis the outreach worker, there was Aldis the daughter, Aldis the sister, and all those Aldises have voices. And not that you shouldn't take pride in what you do or do what you think is right and things like that, but don't make them your God. If you first and foremost intention is peace, then the rest falls in place. Then you can
Mm-hmm.
be a harm reduction worker with peace in your heart. You can be a sister or a mother with peace in your heart. It's what you put God are you gonna choose?
And another question I have is related to you went through a very significant struggle physically.
Yes.
And I think it's an important piece to highlight in this conversation because ultimately your body was screaming at you. And it was in some ways the byproduct of all the work you had been doing and the emotions you've been gathering. I'll let you speak to it if you like to.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, my body is a pretty good barometer of what's going on in my mind. It's as is my household. you know, the people have little tells, but I was very, very sick with endometriosis. That just recently got handled, but there have been things since that I had attributed to the endometriosis that has stuck around. And what I've found is they are stored memories, stored emotions, stored beliefs, even that as I work through these problems are going away. The endometriosis was handled surgically. I must say that I kind of see. I almost even forgot I had it. To tell you the truth, but it was such a significantly hard time physically, and I was very, very concerned about creating an addiction to morphine and also caring for someone at home. But I kind of think it was my rock bottom in a way, where I kind of bounced back up. At the same time, I liken it to when we start to see the things clearly, how our ego gets manipulative and sneaky and tries different routes to finding even confusing you to the point that you go and buy a new pair of boots or you spend
Mm.
those sorts of things or you follow the temptation to an addiction. So it it was almost like a physical manifestation of my ego going, no, we can't hold on to her anymore. It was like struggling, like the guy from Lord of the Rings, the Gremlin guy. When we finally start to see things clearly, I find that the ego does start playing really, really nasty tricks to the point that you're like, what? Who's who? What voice is that? And then unusually manipulative things that you didn't even know that you could think of. And I liken my physical state with the endometriosis to that, where it was just like, okay, if we can't get her in her mind, like she's very close to being free of this depression. If we can't get in her mind, then we're just going to destroy her body and then make her think that nothing in this world cares about her. And then by some stroke of luck, that all changed. And I see parallels in the way the mind works in the physical in that way. Definitely.
It holds all the hallmarks of the hero's journey,
I love the hero story.
right? And so you become the hero in your own story, right? And overcoming all those challenges and struggles and yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So this feels like we could keep talking for quite a while, but it actually also feels like a good place to stop. But before we do, I just wanted to close with the question I usually ask at the end, which is, what is one simple way someone could connect with the sacred today?
Well, every day I try to get into nature, especially when I really don't want to. Once you get there, and you open up to it, I used to find that at the beginning of this round about that I do that the first 10 minutes was devoted to just bitching, mind work. And then after that 20 minutes, things started to slow down until I was just noticing the birds and seeing the seals. And I saw porpoise today. And by the time, I don't know what happens in the woods, but there's some sort of oxygen exchange, and I get almost high off the endorphins or something. But by the time I come out of the woods an hour later, I'm a whole different person. And to me, that is the sacred. That's that's like um that's someone taking your pain for you. It's such a special thing that we all have access to. Not enough people take time to do.
Thank you. I love that because nature is the closest reflection to ourselves that we might not often get to see. So I can relate. And after this, I'm going out and it's pouring rain and I'm like, oh, do I want to go out? But I will.
I did the same yesterday. We're
Mm-hmm.
getting the hurricane here, so
Oh, wow.
it's not pleasant to be out, but the harder the struggle, the better the rewards, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Ross, just before you end, I just wanted to point out your role in all this.
Mm,
What a lovely person you've been to hold space for me when I needed it most, to not judge. I couldn't have asked for someone better. And um, a lot of the problem that I see looking back with the people that I was getting therapy from was there was some sort of hierarchy
mm,
established, and you're in my office, and you're going to do what I say, and there was no lived experience. And that's what I think now we're recognizing lived experience more and more is for the valuable piece that it is. And I want to thank you so much for hearing what I needed in my journey and
mm.
being present through that and to the end, and still now here with me.
Thank you, Aldis. I really appreciate that. And I also want to say that it was such a gift to work with you because you were continually up leveling through the process. You taught me a lot as well because of the way that you look at things and the way that you're not scared of certain things and the types of conversations that you have. So indirectly, you help me to help others in a different way than I would have as well. And your veracity to keep learning, to keep growing, and your perspectives of how you see things are somewhat radical, but they're also really refreshing. And I think that's the Nicotine Nun influence. And so it's been a gift all the way around to work with you, and I'm so happy to celebrate where you've gotten to.
Thanks for us. And I hope what we've both experienced can go on to help other
Hmm.
people as well.
Absolutely. And if someone out there is inspired by your story and wants to reach out and connect with you, what might be the best way to connect? Because as far as I know, social media, you've kind of turned all that off. Would it be email? Maybe
Yeah,
it's like
it would be email. Maybe we can put it in the
show notes.
for this.
Yeah,
Social media is not my god, dude.
I love
Not
that.
anymore, but there may come a day. But for now, email would be
Okay, so we'll put the email address in the show notes.
okie dokie.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And to everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, take good care. Thank you for joining us here on Sacred Sundays. I hope something in today's offering spoke to your spirit, stirred something true, or simply gave you a moment to breathe. You can find more Sacred Sundays episodes, as well as other conversations from the Sacred Village podcast at sacredvillagepodcast.com. Feel free to share this episode with someone who might need it. Until next time, may your Sunday be slow and sacred. Bye for now.